Hello, everyone. It's Steve with Aptera Owners Club. As you guys know, for the past year or so, Aptera has been saying that they need about $50 million to reach um, production stage, and that's not including their kind of basal burn rate. They need $50 million in addition to their basal, kind of like their basal metabolic rate. If Aptera was an animal, they need extra to reach vehicle production, and they were looking for big investors to try to reach that $50 million threshold. We've been talking to sovereign funds, family offices, big institutional investors, and they've been talking to these people for over a year, and maybe even longer than that. And so far, we have not heard any word of of them finding a large investor like that. And it does not seem like they have one and they're just not telling us about it, because when people have asked them whether they have enough money, have found that large investor, it has always been no. They haven't been saying, "Oh, we can't talk about it." It's been no, we don't have it. Like I think at one of the recent solar summer events, someone asked Sarah Hardwick about it, and she said, "No, unfortunately, they have not found it." And at the most recent ambassador meeting, Chris Anthony confirmed that they have not found a large investor as of yet. And in their most recent SEC filing, and in the previous SEC filing, because this is a statement that's been in there for the past like 6 months to a year, they say, in addition, we anticipate reaching the vehicle production stage will require at least $50 million in addition to our current monthly operating expenses. All right, so that's disappointing, because they've always said, okay, once we get the funding, then it's going to be 9 months from funding to get to customer deliveries. And since we haven't gotten a large investment, are we still in this kind of limbo stage where we don't know if anyone will actually get the vehicle? And that's been a little bit of a disheartening thing for me. But during the recent ambassador meeting, I thought this was probably the most exciting, most important 2-3 minutes of the meeting.
Okay, this is from an attendee who feels a little discouraged that no rich person has put Aptera over the top in funding to start production. He looking for some hope. Why should we not be discouraged? Not giving up, but just trying to be a realist.
Yeah, I would if I had the answer to that question.
Yeah, if being in the car or vehicle industry is not an industry to be in if you don't get if you're not if you're uncomfortable with being discouraged, right? Because you hear no all the time, whether it's from regulators or in some cases investors. But the folks that we're talking with now, not only do we see the light at the end of the tunnel, we're going to have, I think, pretty soon 4 different tunnels to choose from, if you want to think about it that way. Why no one person has done it, it's hard to say. There's still people that just don't know about us. I'm always amazed at how many people who are very knowledgeable of the EV space, but they just haven't heard of Aptera. So all it takes is that one person, if they exist. But I just don't think we're out there enough for those people to know about us.
I think we love Aptera. We have gotten to know Aptera. A lot of our world revolves around Aptera. But I'm always surprised going out and talking to people that are either outside the EV industry. They just don't know Aptera. I mean, we just went to this trip to New York, and we met with probably 10 different groups. Only 2 of them knew of Aptera. That's because they had a clean tech focus, and they kind of look at clean tech all the time. But that's in an investment community where they're all about hyper tech. Only 20% of the groups even knew who we were, much less did any research on us. So I can imagine there's 600 billionaires in the U.S., maybe more worldwide. So there's not a lot of billionaires out there. So if you know a billionaire, please introduce us or expose Aptera to them. But I think as we get closer to production, we'll get more mainstream press. As we have the production intent vehicles, people will really start to love Aptera and spread the word. And I think that's when we find that inspired billionaire. Until then, we have a lot of mechanisms to get this company funded and into production. So we're not terribly worried that we haven't found that person. It'll probably, like most things in life, it'll probably come to us when we're not really looking.
Right. So I guess follow up to that is, will we be able to start production if we don't find that inspired billionaire?
Yes.
Great.
Just not at the same rate that we had hoped, but absolutely there's a plan for that.
Exactly. Okay, great.
All right, so that is super exciting, because I mean, it's not exciting that they haven't found someone to fund them to that degree. Uh, Basically, Steve says that they think that there's four, so they must be looking at four distinct pathways to make it to funding. And I don't know if that means like the ATVM loan, or they're doing some debt financing, or they're thinking that the crowdfunding is going to become huge, or they have like some couple of large investors that are very, very interested and seem like they're going to pull the trigger. But it seems like they have multiple options. It's not like it's just like this one path and they die. And at the end, they said, no matter what happens, they have a plan to make it to production. So they're just not going to make it to production at scale. They're going to produce little by little at that point. It sounds like they need the 50 million or maybe even more to do full scale production, the 40 vehicles a day, but maybe they'll be able to produce one a day or two a day, or, a small amount. They're going to hand build some, and they're definitely going to deliver vehicles. So, they've got the molds, they're making those things. They're going to 100% produce 16 of these production intent vehicles. And if they can make production intent vehicles, they can make customer vehicles. And I think their plan is to just hand build these things one by one until they can scale. They find the funding to scale. And I think once they have hand built ones in customers' hands, then, I think investments will come, because then, you've got a product that's being produced, that's being sold. All you need is the money to scale this production, and they know that there's the demand. I think at that point, it becomes a much better value proposition for investors, large investors, and they're going to do it. So to me, that was the most exciting thing about the entire ambassador meeting, is that they have a plan to get to production, and that plan to production, though it may be low volume, is not dependent on additional funding. They have the resources now to make it to funding. So that was great. And I think that was the most exciting thing for me. So hopefully that is good news for you guys. Thanks for watching. Have a great day, everyone.